Diefenbach.
Diefenbach.
It's a tongue twister.
Okay.
I was 7th grade before I could spell it.
Now we're going to talk about rodeo. My first question for you is when and where were you born?
I was born in Gympie, Queensland, Australia.
And did you grow up around rodeo?
My dad used to rodeo, but growing up he wouldn't let me rodeo. I had to concentrate on my schoolwork. I don't know if that paid off too well or not, but yeah, I started rodeoing in Australia.
And what did you start? How did you start in rodeo?
I actually started riding, I was riding bulls, saddle bronc horses, and then a bullfighting school came up and I went to the bullfighting school and decided I wanted to do that. My dad, he actually used to fight bulls and ride saddle bronc horses, and then I started to get to where I was fighting bulls pretty decent, and I kind of it was getting busy with rodeo, so I had to choose between bull riding and bronc riding, and I chose bullfighting, and I'm glad I did.
What was your first competition as a contestant?
Be a rodeo in Australia somewhere. It's been feels like 100 years ago. Be a rodeo in Australia, one of the rodeos in Australia, part of the NRA, which is the National Rodeo Association Australia. That's right, the association I started rodeoing with, so it would have been one of their rodeos.
Yeah, and how old were you?
I was probably about 16, 17.
What is it about rodeo then that made you want to continue with it as a career?
For me, it was like the challenge. You know, when you fight bulls, for me to be able to put myself between a bull and a bull rider and sacrifice my own well-being for for that of another human being was like a rush to me. It was like the ultimate, my safety for their safety. When I shoot the gap or a bull hooks me and that bull rider gets up, gets away, doesn't even get touched, to me was the ultimate feeling. That's what I did, and just a huge challenge. Not everyone can position themselves between a person and a 2,000-pound bull with big old horns that just wants to eat you, and take a hooking for another guy, and just a challenge. It pushed me.
Did you have anyone that you idolized or a mentor or anything like that?
Yep, absolutely. There's a guy called Graham Bagheero in Australia. He taught me how to fight bulls. Probably one of the greatest bullfighters ever to come out of Australia. Graham, I owe a lot to Graham on what he taught me. Absolutely.
When did you join the PRCA?
1998, I joined the PRCA. Huge goal. I started out as a kid in another country with a list of goals on my bedroom wall, and joined the PRCA was one of them, and to be sitting where I'm sitting today was another one of them. So in '98, I joined the PRCA. I landed in California when I first got here. Worked for Flying U, Cotton Rosser, Dan and Linda Russell of Western Rodeos, and Jeff Davis, 4-Star Rodeos, and just went from there.
Did you partner with anybody and travel with somebody, or did you just kind of hang out at the California rodeos then?
Well, I just kind of, no one knew me. Like I say, I didn't know anyone when I got over here, so I just had to rely on my ability and my job in the arena to spread the word that I was here. Basically, as a bullfighter, when we get past the part of being employed by a contractor, we're employed by a rodeo committee, so we travel by ourselves. Whereas them bull riders, they might go to 6, 7, 8 other rodeos. We're at the one rodeo, so it kind of makes it hard to travel with someone. Also makes it hard to travel by yourself when you beat up sore, can hardly push a gas pedal in or change the gear in your truck. You know what I mean? So sometimes I wish I had a travel partner.
Yeah. So you didn't travel with any other bullfighters or anything that had the same schedule, kind of?
No, we all have very different schedules. Worked a lot of rodeos with same bullfighters, but no, as far as travel, very, very seldom were we like week after week working the same rodeos. Might be work rodeo with one particular guy one weekend, and then might be a month later before you see him again.
Who were some of them that you worked with a lot?
I worked with Mike Matt. In my opinion, was one of the greatest bullfighters ever, especially when it came to cowboy protection. He got his credit in the Wrangler bullfights. He was a multi-time world champion. Fought bulls with Mike all my years at Cheyenne. Would not have rather worked with anyone else other than Mike there. He's a great bullfighter. Lance Britton, also another guy. I worked with Lance one time. Lance was a great bullfighter. got his credit in the Wrangler bullfights also as a world champion. And another guy, John Brogan, in my opinion, was one of the greatest cowboy protection bullfighters ever. John, he made the NFR and the Wrangler bullfights several times, but John and I would work a lot of Benny Butler rodeos together, and Benny's bulls, they'd like to play rodeo, and I think John Brogan and myself were a pretty good team. Obviously worked a lot with Joe Bumgardner. Joe's obviously a legend bullfighter. Dusty Tuckness, Cody Webster, worked with all them guys.
So I read somewhere that you would ride a bull backwards.
Yep, I remember the first year at the convention. We have our convention in Las Vegas during the NFR, and I had a booth there. And like I said, I didn't know anyone. I'm just a kid sitting there, and I could tell there's bullfighters running around chasing committees with cups of coffee and candies and cupcakes, and I'm like, I could just tell by their demeanor, you know. I mean, I figured if you gotta chase someone down with a sweet to get a rodeo, something's not right. And so I was driving home back to California from Vegas after the convention. I told myself, you know, I got to come up with something that's different, something that can let these guys know I'm here. So I decided to start riding bulls backwards, and of course, Cotton Rossi, being the showman that he is, he loved that. So he got his mileage out of me riding bulls backwards. But it was good, you know, because, and I've got several photos in my photo mail of all them bull riders. They love it, you know, because I get on a bull backwards at the end of the bull ride. So them guys were all hanging over the chute watching me get on a bull backwards, and so then what it did was it made them pay attention. You know, the seeing that I rode a bull backwards, and then they started watching me fight bulls. And I made my first NFR the third year I was here, and I owe a lot to riding bulls backwards, I think, because it made them pay attention to me, and then they seen, hey, this guy's, he can fight bulls too. So like I gave myself 5 years to make the NFR, and I made it in 3. My third year I had my card, so, and like I said, I owe a lot to that. That and Greg Potter was a huge influence too. Greg Potter was rodeoing hard and making the finals. Greg Potter was a bull rider from Australia. He went to the finals several times, won an average at the finals in bull ride, and Greg was a huge help, you know, because he was traveling with a group of guys, a really good group of guys at the time, and because I knew Greg, it also allowed me to get to know them guys too, and they got to watch me.
So what was it like to make that NFR? And you said you'd given yourself 5 years, but here you did it in 3. So what were those feelings like?
Oh, it's crazy. I remember I was driving home from Oklahoma City when I got the call saying that I had made the shortlist. And back then, I believe back then it was only 3 guys on the shortlist, because two guys would work the finals, and the third guy on the shortlist, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, because I remember John Brogan me and John were on the shortlist to make the finals that year, and I figured if John and I had got it together, we'd be able to have it for a long time. But I remember I was driving home from Oklahoma City after the rodeo there, and I got the call, and I just remember winding the window down, just singing out the window, like, you know, I couldn't believe it, because I still had a long way to go, because that was just the first round to voting. And yeah, it's surreal, you know. My first year, it really didn't hit me until I was in Vegas walking across the stage to get my buckle and my jacket, and I was like, holy crap, this is happening, you know what I mean? So it's, you know, every person that has a PRCA card should get the experience of feeling what it's like to walk across that stage to get your buckle and jacket. But not everyone does, but you've got to be willing to put in whatever it takes. It's not easy, and there's a lot of sacrifices.
Did those feelings of excitement change in you after when you got chosen again and again?
Oh no, the NFR's the NFR. You know, every night I'd walking down the moat there to go down during the barrel race, and you know, because we'd fight bulls after the barrel racing was done, you know, I'd still get goosebumps going down the moat. There's just something about that place. For me personally, I never experienced when it was in Texas, but for me personally, growing up, Vegas is where it's always been, and just that feeling is what gets your motor running. Just walking down that moat to that Thomas and Mack Arena and hearing Torman's voice, and you know, because you grew up years, Torman's been there 102 years announcing, so just growing up listening to all them old tapes of him announcing, just, yeah, gave me goosebumps.
What were some of your favorite memories
Oh, probably my favourite memory would be Fred Betcher got a re-ride one night, and on his re-ride, he rode his re-ride, and that ball had drifted down the arena, and it was quite a way away from us. And Fred actually, when he got off even further away from us towards the other end of the arena. And I just remembered, holy crap, I'm not going to make it. Anyway, I willed myself to it, and I had to jump through that ball, hooked me through in the air, and I got a standing ovation at the Thomas and Mack. So that was, yeah, if that doesn't get fired up, nothing will.
Is there one NFR that stands out as being like the best to you?
They're all good, you know. For us, you know, as long as we can keep the Cowboys safe, it's a good NFR. You know, some contestants, I'll have better NFRs than some, but for me, everyone was just getting to go there was great.
Did you see the finals change a whole lot in your 10 times that you went?
Yeah, I think when I first started going, I think I went through about 3 era of guys, and I feel like the guys in the first 2 eras had a lot more heart, a lot more try. It kind of, I like just old school, you know, them guys would be hanging upside down and still wouldn't let go. I don't know if it's because these guys have a lot more chance of winning a lot more money. Nowadays they don't need to try as hard, but I mean, all I know is them guys, you look back at the finals from the 90s and 80s, how hard them guys tried. Every single ball they tried.
What were some of your favorite rodeos to work?
Oh, Cheyenne, Calgary, Caldwell was a great rodeo, Pleasant Grove, San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, they're all good. But Calgary, I think, other than the NFR, Calgary's a really good rodeo, and Cheyenne.
What made those 2 the best or favorites?
The prestige and the size of them and the atmosphere. You know, rodeos like Cheyenne and Calgary, they're rodeos you could wait your whole life to get to work and never get to. Just, like I say, probably just their history, their prestige.
Were there any bulls that you never wanted to see in that shoot?
To me, I'd be lying if I said no, but there always was. But to me, a bull was just something that had to be there for me to do what I do. And, you know, for me, I didn't worry about the bulls. Like I said, I had to do my job no matter what the bull done. And yes, there was bulls that was super mean and would hook me about every time or every second time they're out. But you just, what happened yesterday has no bearing over what happens today. So you just take it one stride at a time. Like I said, I just looked at it as just something to be there to do what I had to do.
Who do you think were some of your biggest competitors? And did you see them as competitors or just as?
No, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of great bullfighters out there. I just went and did my job. I just tried to be the best bullfighter I could be. What they did was up to them. I just know how much effort and time I put into it. You know, I figured this guy works this hard, you got to work that hard. You just got to be. It's like anything. If you want to be the best at whatever you choose to do, you got to do more than the next guy wants to do.
You had actually a pretty long career as a bullfighter. What do you attribute that longevity to?
Big heart and determination, and the love of it. I genuinely loved it with all my heart, and that's why I tell people, if you honestly and genuinely enjoy doing something, you can't help but be good at it. And you'll find a way to be good at it, no matter what it is. And I just love fighting bulls, and I worked hard at it. I worked out every day. I just did whatever it took.
What was a major obstacle that you faced?
Injuries. I don't know, I just seemed to be one of those guys that was always hurt, you know. I don't know if you put it down to luck or what you put it down to, but I wasn't afraid to get in there, and I wasn't afraid to have a go and do whatever it took just to get that guy out of there. But I think probably in my whole career I had maybe 3 years of not packing an injury, you know. I would definitely say injuries, yeah. And with injuries, I just looked at, when I got hurt, I looked, you know, no one likes pain, no one wants to be hurt, but I just looked at injuries as a way to make me tougher. When I got hurt or I was sore or hurt, and I just say, I love it. I just feel like, I just tell myself I love fighting bulls, and I feel like it made me stronger. You know, and obviously, you know, what hurt me when I first started wouldn't even bother me 10 years down the track, and it's surprising how much pain a person can tolerate if he tells himself he can.
What was your worst injury?
Oh, I don't know if I have a worst. Probably the one that haunts me the most. I had a bull jump on my face and break my face. This is my third eye socket. So that probably affects me the most. I've had broken backs, necks, all that stuff. But yeah, probably my face injury. Head injuries, I think, are one of the worst injuries.
How do you think being involved in the sport of rodeo shaped you as a person?
I think the mental aspect of it is how it shaped me, because you have to be not only physically tough, but mentally tough, probably more mentally tough, obviously, than physically tough. And I feel like, to be able to be at the level that I got to requires a lot of stuff. So I feel like you can take that into life generally, apply what rodeo teaches you about yourself to life.
How have you seen the sport of rodeo change from when you first got started in it to now?
A lot more money, that's for sure. Probably more money now would be one of the biggest things. I don't know if you want to edit this, but the NFR was actually one of my worst paying rodeos, and them guys make pretty good money there now. Yeah, probably money would be probably the biggest change.
Where do you see rodeo going in the future?
Hopefully up and out and bigger and better, It's such a great sport. It's one of the sports that we still stay patriotic, no matter what's happening. It's a good family-orientated sport. My wife, she started running barrels last year. We've been going to some rodeos, and just going to rodeos with our kids is so good for their social skills, you get to meet, they make friends with a fence post, It's just good for them, Rodeo is just a good life, good lifestyle.
What was your favorite part about being involved in rodeo?
Definitely not the parades. I hated parades, and I've been in more parades than you can poke a stick at, and I had to do it if I wanted to keep a job. I hated parades. I don't know. You asked me, what was the question you asked me?
The question was, what was your favorite part about rodeo?
Oh, my favorite part about rodeo, yeah, wasn't the parades. Probably people and the friendship. The friendship you made with the guys, not just bull riders, but I used to hang out with the bulldoggers. The bulldoggers were fun, and I think they still are. But yeah, and that's one thing you miss. People ask me if I miss rodeo, and honestly, I don't. But I miss hanging out with the good guys, you know what I mean?
What was it like to go back to Australia and teach a bullfighting clinic?
I've done 2 bullfighting clinics, and they've both been in Australia. And I really, putting on clinics is not for me. I get frustrated because I feel like I need to teach them kids in 2 days what took me a lifetime to learn. So I feel like I'm not good at putting clinics because I want to give them too much information at one time. So I've only ever done 2.
What do you think you learned the most from being involved in rodeo?
Probably just the mental aspect of being mentally tough and overcoming stuff. That would be the biggest thing I've learned, is just how to face different challenges and how to get through them, especially from having to fight bulls injured so many times. I think that taught me the most.
What are you doing now that you've retired?
We have a construction business. We build houses, office buildings, shops, remodels, bathrooms, kitchens, all different kinds of stuff. We have some excavating equipment. We do granite and quartz countertops, probably more than I should, but yeah.
If you could give a rookie bullfighter a piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be, if I can do it, you can do it. If there's something you want to do, just work hard at it, hang out with good people, do something every day that's towards your goal. Don't quit, try hard.
What were your feelings like when they called and told you you were going to be inducted into the Rodeo Hall of Fame?
Well, I was like, geez, who'd have thought they'd have run out of people to put in the Hall of Fame? Who'd have scooped to the bottom of the barrel? No, obviously, yeah, unreal. What an honor. And I was, like I said, I was a kid in another country that had a list of goals. We're talking 35 years ago, and at the bottom of that list was make it into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, and here we sit. Yeah, no, it was cool.
So what does this induction mean to you then?
It means hopefully I've made a legacy for my kids, something for my kids to be proud of. I think that most of all, now that I have a wife and kids, is just something that maybe they can be proud of their dad did, and just the fact that, like I said, I was a kid in another country, come over here, didn't know one person, and just found a way to make it work.
I noticed that you tended to wear red a lot. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, there was. I prided myself on what I did, and I didn't want someone else, because of, I feel like a lot of the guys wear different color shirts, and especially now that the jersey's around, you don't know who's who, I mean, I figured if I'm going to work my butt off all week and make a good save, I want the credit for it. Because at the end of the year, I want to be voted to the NFR. Now I figured, I'll just wear a red shirt, and I used to tell people it's to hide the blood. But no, I'd wear a red shirt, then people would always know it was me, I mean, kind of like my trademark, and that's my trademark, and it worked. People knew, still to this day, if you watch an old tape, see a red shirt, it was me,
How hard was it to come up with the face-to-tape design?
Graham kind of helped me. There's an old book out, I can't remember the name, it has a bunch of like the old bullfighters like Skipper and them guys, Miles and stuff that have, so I just went through and picked out a little bit of each. Kind of got lazy at the end of my career. I quit wearing makeup for the last several years.